Hey there, art nerds. If you know me, you know I love a good flower crown, and I have been wanting to make a mushroom flower crown for a while now. So since I had so much fun sharing my boot painting process with you guys, I thought I would share the process for making a mushroom flower crown with y'all as well. Most of what I got, I ordered from Michael's online because I couldn't really find what I was looking for in their stores. It's Halloween, so it's like a weird seasonal shift. Your local craft stores may vary. Let me know if you have better luck. And while I did try Etsy, I didn't really see a lot of what I was looking for. I also realized I could probably make some pretty cute mushrooms out of air foam clay, but look, let's be real here. As somebody with ADHD, do I really need to complicate this even more and make it even less likely to happen? And the answer to that is no. So if you want to make one of your own, I'll put what I can down in the, I'm going to put everything in the description for you guys, but I will link what I can because that's not always going to be feasible. So there's a lot of different ways you can make a flower crown. The one I'm wearing, I didn't make this one. I bought this one at a craft fair. This is attached to a headband. I want a traditional style, more traditional style flower crown. Let me go grab another one that I have and I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Ren Fair style flower crown is kind of what I have in mind, and this was purchased at a Ren Fair, but basically this one has kind of one main wire, and then the flowers themselves have been wrapped with a not sticky floral tape to secure it to the band. And then at the ends there are loops and the ribbons are attached to that. And I had a rose flower crown that I made that has disappeared to the sands of time that I would show you guys. But what I'm thinking about doing today is kind of a combination of like a woven flower crown and this flower crown here, where instead of it having just one wire, it's gonna have a few, and then it's gonna terminate. It's either going to be a full flat crown or it's going to tie around the back. I haven't quite decided yet. So let me show you guys the materials that I have, realistically, the materials that I have so far that we're going to use for our mushroom flower crown today. So I have two boxes from Michael's because Michael's is doing what Walmart and Amazon do, where they do sell things directly from their store, but they also carry stuff from other vendors. So one of these boxes was shipped from a second vendor and one of them came from the store. Obviously the one I shipped from the store came a lot faster. So I have some mushroom picks. These are a touch of nature, and I have them in gray and this yellowish color here. I also have a couple of rolls of floral tape. This will probably be sticky. I hope it's not. I hate floral tape. Disclaimer, I do a lot of floral arrangements for my aunt's mausoleum space. And while I love doing floral decorations and floral arrangements, I hate messing with floral tape. And then the box from Michael's proper, I have some ashland mushrooms. These aren't as cute as the Touch in Nature, but they'll do. And I have 2 packs of those. I also have some mini mushrooms, and that is it for that. Then I have some flowers, and some of these I have had for like decades. Some of them I bought more recently from other floral projects. So if you don't have a huge assortment of flowers, you can go to Dollar Tree. They actually carry a lot of flowers fairly inexpensively. You can also catch Michael's and Joann's at the end of the season, and usually all their floral stuff is on sale. I also have some greenery. Since when I think of like a mushroom flower crown, I'm really thinking about like moss and just, I don't want to put moss on this thing, but although I do have craft moss, oh my gosh, can you tell? I just want to live in the woods. But I did think some greenery would be a good idea. I also have some ribbon. I have some white grosgrain. I have some larger organza ribbon. I also have some Michael's has been selling in the Christmas section this decent velvet ribbon, and I am a sucker for velvet ribbon. So I do have some other colors too, but those are for a different thing. But I have some really pretty green velvet ribbon that kind of looks like moss. And then we're gonna need something to attach this to. So I have some wired hemp and some wired twine. And I thought I had floral wire because I'm going to have to take these mushrooms off their skewers and attach them to floral wire so I can kind of weave them in. I'm also going to go get a hot glue gun because for a project like this, you need to be able to work fairly quickly. All right, it has been several days since I last talked to you guys, but I now have my glue gun. It was at my mom's house, and so Louisiana's been having a lot of problems with wildfires and wildfires plus fog causing like horrific driving conditions and multi-car pileups. So I haven't been able to make it over to the other side of the river. And I also have some floral wire, and that's going to be really helpful because we have all these little mushrooms. Some of them are on picks already, but I don't want the wooden pick. I actually want to insert a wire pick so we can weave it into our flower crown. But I actually want to start by making a base for the flower crown. And I have some wired twine, and I also have some wired hemp. And I believe I have a foam head that I use for classes. So I'm probably going to use that to kind of get started, or I'm going to build it on my own head first to kind of get what I'm looking for. And then I'll finish building it on so I'm thinking I want it like across and then bent. So I bent it to indicate where I want the bend to be. And I am going to have to get some wire snips for this. And I want it to, so I'm leaving loops at the end where I'm going to tie the wire. And double check to make sure. Actually, I might want this to be a little bit bigger. So instead, I'm going to add it over on the side that has all the excess. And obviously, it really wants to tie in on itself. And obviously, I'm a little bit distracted because I'm talking to you guys and not just focusing on making my mushroom queen crown, or well, I don't know. I haven't decided entirely yet, but we got this. I'm hoping to have it done by Halloween so that I have something kind of festive and fun and cute to wear, because you know I don't have enough flower crowns. I have to have a mushroom flower crown too. I also need to get a pair of jewelry pliers or wire snips because this is pretty thick. Although I was kind of thinking too, I might try to use all of the wire and really like space it out. And that way I can work the mushrooms into it and I can get more mushrooms on it. You know, trying to maximize my mushies here. And this is a very soft, pliable wire. I found this in the floral section of Michael's. I'd actually tried my Walmart and Dollar Tree first for this. Didn't see it. Your mileage may vary. Some Walmarts are better than other Walmarts, as we've talked about in the past. Don't want it to get too bulky either though. So I think it's got like one more pass. I also don't want it to be overly neat because it's supposed to have kind of like a Mori key or a cottagecore kind of feeling to it. And rather than snip it, I'm just gonna kind of bury the end into it. Okay, so we have this mess here. Let's see how this looks. Messy, but that's not bad. Not a bad thing necessarily. Spread it out a little bit more. I don't know. gotta zhuzh things. And we're gonna kind of finesse things and mold things around and kind of intertwine the fibers and just kind of get it to be more what we're looking for. You like this? Maybe that's hard to see, but I think we're off to a good start. The good thing about recording this is I can see my reflection. The bad thing is every time I take it off, it pulls my hair loose and looks terrible. So I am gonna go get the foam head. I am going to maybe go get some smaller ribbon or something that will work with this, because I have some leftover ribbon for some other projects that I've been doing, but I also have this green velour ribbon. I have this sage green wired green ribbon. Y'all can tell like sage and like celadon greens are like my favorite colors. But I think something smaller. I also have this cream colored ribbon, but if I can find something smaller in a red, that might be helpful too. So I'll be back. All right, I have a pair of wire snips. I have a pair of needle nose pliers that also have wire snips. I have a pair of scissors. I think we have everything we need maybe to get started. Oh, and I also have my foam head. And this is the foam head that I use often when I'm demonstrating how to draw heads. So she can earn her keep today. What would also be helpful, but I don't have it yet, is just some pins, so I could pin this to her head. Not really a big deal. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to make sure I tighten my loops, because this is where we're going to attach the ribbon. And like one of those crowns I showed you earlier, it is going to tie behind the head, and I'm going to use the large velvet ribbon for that. And most of this was picked up at Michael's, or it's stuff I've had for a while, or it's stuff I have from my side hustle doing floral arrangement, like funerary floral arrangements for mausoleums. So not for like a chain of mausoleums, like for family mausoleum crypts. Weird, I know. Ooh, I actually kind of like this velvet ribbon because it's really thin. And I do also have some red velvet ribbon, but this stuff is thick. I have some leaf ribbon. I have some gold. I have some gold tape. I have some, it looks like it's supposed to be burlap. And this is after I've liquidated most of my ribbon. I used to have a lot more ribbon, but what I'm kind of doing is I'm going to end up sewing the ribbon. So I actually need to go get some pins. See, I thought I had everything I needed and I don't. And what I like about it is it's got this like raw edge, so it looks kind of rustic, and I think that's really pretty. I've been into Moriki / Hobbit / Mosscore / Tiny Core for forever, basically, like since I was a kid reading Anne of Green Gables. So this is me finally having the money and the time to be the Becca I wanted to be. So I am going to go get a pin and pin this in place. And I actually want it to have some length to the ribbon. I also have this really pretty, I don't think I can use it for this. I think it's gonna be too big. And I want the mushrooms to really shine in this. I wish I had some really bright red mushrooms. I have some tiny bright red mushrooms, but most of what I have are like the yellow and the gray and then the brown ones with only some tiny pops of red, but that might look really pretty. And I do also have some flowers that I might use for this. We're just gonna I have sketches, but we're just gonna kind of go with it and see what comes up. So the beautiful thing about safety pins is that they will hold this secure. We can mess around with it. They're not gonna stick me, and we can reposition them. I just need to remember to sew them. So then I wanna make sure I have like a nice long tail. The problem with these nicer ribbons is you only get 2 yards, so that's about 3 feet. I don't think I want 3 feet. And then I'm going to cut it, and I want about the same length. We could take it off and measure it. You know, we could be like good at what we do. Oh no, there isn't quite enough. Ooh, I hate when they tape it too, because that just like nasties up the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this side and we're just going to even it up. And don't worry, I'm not going to take you guys step by step, by painstaking step through every part of this process because it's not necessary. I'm just going to cover kind of the gist points so you can make a base if you wanted to make a flower crown, and so that you could just get some ideas if you're making your own. So I'm going to trim up the ribbon. I was hoping there'd be enough for me to have some as a hair ribbon. Fortunately, I have black mustard and like a smoky blue. Okay, so we'll try this. I am all thumbs today. It ties at the back of the head. And I may decide the ribbon is too long. I don't think I will though, now that I'm getting it going. And the nice thing about doing like a mushroom crown is that it would be cute in summer, fall, or winter. Okay. All right. Well, I can't see the back, so you guys are gonna have to tell me if it's cute, but fit is good so far. And ooh, I took some of my hair with it. So I'm gonna have to sew it, and that'll neaten up the closures. They're kind of rough right now, but otherwise that's looking kind of cute. And I will just plop it on her head. And the next thing I'm going to want to do, or the next thing I want to do, is work in some ribbon. And I have to think about it. What kind of ribbon, what size ribbon, because our mushrooms aren't huge. I didn't want huge mushrooms. I also have these really cute like acorn sprays that I'm gonna work in, and I've got some greenery. I've got a lot of really cute stuff, but now that we have our base, I'm gonna kind of think about my options and make some good choices. But I really love, looks a little bit dirty, took some of my hair with it, but I really love the green ribbon. Like, it's very cute. Okay, so I have the ribbons fairly in place, fairly where I want them. I'm leaving tails because I am going to tuck those in and sew them down with the rest of it once it's all in place. Right now it kind of feels like it's too much ribbon though. Like maybe I should cull some of this ribbon. Maybe the white can go. With all that effort, I'm gonna just pull it all out. But see, a lot of this is just kind of seeing what looks good, seeing what you like and running with it, or, you know, we can hot glue or tack it into place. I'm not going to do that though until I've got the mushrooms in. Let's see. Looks better, and like I said, these are going to be tacked. So with the mushrooms, we have some on these wooden skewers, and we also have some that just don't have anything at all. I've got my glue gun, and I have wire nippers, and I have wire over here. So you can just pull these picks right out. I'm gonna set those aside because sometimes we end up needing those for floral arrangements. And I have to figure out a way to kind of weave these into the crown. But I might as well start turning them into floral picks. So I don't think I need a huge amount of wire. I think I could do each one in half. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make some picks in advance, and I'll demonstrate how I'm going to do that for you guys. Is this the way to do it? Probably not. I have a hot glue gun over here. It is already on. I am going to put some hot glue on my wire pick and try to work quickly. I'm going to jam it where, if I can find where the wooden pick was, and then I'm going to apply a lot of glue and just set it aside and let that harden. If I can get it to stand, I may have to prop, because I don't want the glue, I do want the glue soaking in, but I don't necessarily want the glue like running down the side. Set that off to the side. Let's try one of these. These are Ashland, which is a Michaels brand, components. It was originally $9.99 for the pack. That's pretty pricey. I think I got them on sale either with a coupon or with, they were already on sale. You know how Michaels is, everything is always on sale at some point, or you can save up your points or whatever. These are plastic coated, but they're kind of squishy. So I'm kind of hopeful that I can jam a wire into them. So let's see if that is such a thing. Yes, I can. And I'm going to do the same thing with just some hot glue around the base, just so that hopefully it won't go anywhere. And I'm using hot glue in case some of these things are made of foam, because I have noticed that, you know, different glues that are on the, ooh, that is wiggly. That's not gonna wanna stay. So the mushroom cap is kind of wiggly too. So I'm just gonna, no one's gonna see this. Just gonna get in there with some hot glue and kind of let it solidify, and set that over to the side as well. And I'm just gonna make a few of these in advance. So now it's time to figure out where our mushrooms are going to go, where our greenery is going to go, and maybe even where the flowers are going to go. And it's just gonna be real trial and error. Try something, see if you like it, mess around with it, noodle around with it. It's not an exact science. The only thing I can say is once it's where you want it to be, you need to secure it. Whether you're twisting the wire around, you're using a little bit of hot glue, you need to find a way to secure it on there.
Starting with a base of greenery and just kind of figuring out what I like and then replicating it on the other side. You can make your crown symmetrical or asymmetrical. For the base, I'm going for fairly symmetrical. And then when I add the mushrooms, I'm going to mirror it, but not quite exactly, just kind of offset it so it kind of complements it. I have these fern pieces that are going to work really well as a base back behind the ears. They are really broad. When I do other kinds of floral arrangements, I will save some of the greenery, some of the picks, other things that might be useful for use in other picks or in other projects. So that's why I have such a stash of little odds and ends. If you are making this project from home, a good way to get this kind of greenery very cheaply would be to buy like a single bouquet design, because they often have a lot of filler, or to hit an end of the season sale. Now, I did pick up some little greeneries back in the floral section. It's not going to be with the flowers, it's going to be with the wreaths. And these are great because you get a lot of greenery. They're fairly well made greenery. And I'm using these kind of like little eucalyptus things, and I'm kind of weaving them into the base that we made using the wired twine. And I am kind of securing it with glue. There are going to be some elements that are more woven in, but I'm going to make sure to go back and add a glue dot here and there just to make sure it sticks. And you want to try to glue it to other elements in addition to gluing it to your base, in addition to gluing it to your ribbons. You want it to have as many points as possible. I am using Gorilla hot glue. This is the best hot glue that I have found, and I've done a lot of hot gluing over the years, and I've had a lot of things pop loose when I used cheaper hot glues. The Gorilla hot glue really holds. This is a multi-temp glue gun, and it is on its hottest setting, which means you are very likely to burn yourself if you don't know what you're doing with hot glue. And they do sell like these little protective finger cots that will kind of allow you to mash the hot glue into place, because what you're going to want to do is you're going to wait for it to cool just enough that you can really mash it in there so that the hot glue gets into the ribbon as well as all over the twine that you're using. These are the Acorn elements that I mentioned. They're actually pretty expensive because they're really rather nice. They are little wooden acorns with real acorn caps, and there is a lot of wire in them. So what's nice about these is you can really weave them in and really secure them to other parts of the crown. And then these can be used as an attachment point for other elements that you're going to add in. So we've kind of finished with our greenery. We've now moved on to some of our picks, and now I'm grabbing the mushrooms. And with the mushrooms, you guys remember I attached a long piece of floral wire. So not only are we going to weave it into the base of the crown, so the hemp covered ribbon, hemp covered wire that we're using, but we're also going to glue the mushrooms onto the crown to better secure them. And it kind of doesn't really matter where you put these things. It's going to be a matter of personal taste, what you like, what you think looks good. I'm trying to use a mix of the softer foam, brightly colored mushrooms and I think they're actually wax covered, not plastic covered foam mushrooms from Michael's. In the end, I think I kind of like the plastic / wax covered mushrooms a little bit better. I think those are going to hold up a little bit longer than the softer foam mushrooms, but I hate how with the orange capped ones, they like screen these giant white dots on it. That looks so tacky. But other than that, they look pretty good. And from a distance, I don't think people are really going to see that. And you guys can see how we were able to build up a lot of fullness without necessarily using a bunch of mushrooms. If you went for larger mushrooms, you wouldn't need as many mushrooms. But I think having a mix of larger and smaller mushrooms looks really cute. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm weaving the mushrooms and their picks into the crown and really securing them at multiple points. I want my flower crowns to be as secure as possible because honestly, when I bring them to shows, they get a lot of wear and tear. They get kind of beaten up. So I want to make sure that it's going to be as sturdy as possible. So I keep trying it on the foam head just to see how it looks, to see where it needs more securing, where it needs more mushrooms, where it might need more color. And it's just kind of giving me a chance to get a better assessment than just holding it in my hand. Now, I wanted a really full looking mushroom crown, so I'm adding in a lot of mushrooms, but you might find that you just want one or two, or you want a thinner crown, or you want some flowers in there. And that's really going to be up to you and what you like. I mean, it's all about personal taste, and that's why I'm not giving a prescriptive step 1, step 2, step 3, but rather some ideas for how I'm doing this. You could also, if you wanted to, glue some moss in there. I didn't want moss specks in my hair, and I also know from personal experience with some of my other flower crowns that moss degrades kind of quickly. All right, we are almost done with our mushroom crown. I am going to stitch the ribbons and just kind of tidy everything up. I love how it looks. Joseph said it looks creepy and very me, which is what I was going for. And he mentioned making a mushroom bouquet for funerals, which is something I would want at my funeral. I think that's really cool. Very return back to the earth, which is a vibe that I definitely go with. I think it's super cool. I can't wait to wear it, and I can't wait to show you guys what the finished mushroom crown is going to look like. I do have a few left over, but not many as I would like, and it was hard to get these. So my Michaels did have some mushrooms at one point, but they sold. My Michaels has been switching seasons very, very quickly. Like, it's not Halloween even. They don't have anything for Thanksgiving. They're liquidating all their fall stuff, and it's all Christmas now. So even if you like to make things, but you're not making them to sell, and you're a working person who has to work with the time that you have, you better jump on it if you want that stuff from Michaels. So I really wanted to buy enough mushrooms to do a flower crown and 2 wreaths, and maybe make another witch hat, because I made the sunflower witch hat, and I think a mushroom witch hat would have been really cool too. And they were kind of expensive. I had to order them from the Michaels site. I didn't know what I was getting. Some of the reviews said they were terrible. Some of the reviews really liked them. So I like to buy my craft supplies in person when it's like my first time with a product, because the internet lies. Ha! Who knew? Who's surprised? But I was telling Joseph that I probably, since I like mushrooms and I like mushroom decor and I have for decades now, I probably should just buy mushroom stuff when I see it on sale and not like wait, because I will find a project for it. It will get used if it's mushrooms. So I'm gonna go get needle and thread and finish this thing up. Alright, so you guys remember those ribbons, right? And how we left tails? The goal is going to be to work these tails
into our ribbon. And the velvet is gorgeous, but it frays. So if you have some fray check at home, that would probably be, I don't know, the fray check would help with this. They are fraying so much. But, you know, that was the aesthetic that I was looking for when I bought it, so I can't actually complain. Now, I'm trying to figure out, I undid it, and I'm trying to figure out how to work all of this together so that it forms a neat end, and then I'm going to, or as neat as possible, and then I'm going to pin it and sew it. And you could, I guess you could use a machine for this. I'm just going to hand sew it because it's really not, there we go, really not that much. I want to make sure I capture the ribbon in there. And normally if I weren't recording, I would do each side just to make sure they are, you know, nice and secured. But since we're recording, I'm going to go ahead and unpin, tuck the, figure out a way I want to tuck the tails so that they are sandwiched in, and then sew it. Actually, I want the ribbon facing the same side. So it's a little, if you look closely, you see a lot of floral ribbon, foil wire weaving in and out just to make sure the mushrooms are as secure as I could get them. You could hot glue them, but I've had a lot of problems, like with my witch hat, I've had problems where the hot glue just starts to kind of give out over the years. Okay, so they're both pinned. And I'm using Gorilla hot glue for this, which is what if I'm gonna do floral stuff, that's what I like to use, although it will quite possibly give you cancer because it's got some fumes. You really need to work in a well-ventilated area. I wish I had some green thread. I'm sure I do somewhere. I did not feel like digging it out. And I'm just gonna do like a really small, tight stitch across the back. I'll be real with you guys. I don't know like a million hand stitches, so we're not gonna do like a back stitch or anything like that. I could look it up, but you know, this is not a sewing channel. There are better places than me for that. Actually, this is also not a flower crown making channel. This is an art channel. What am I doing here? But you know, indulging in other forms of creativity, like crafting, can be a great way to improve your art, to fuel your inspiration. I'm gonna turn this over. I need to tuck in all those loose wires, but we'll do that after we do this. You know, it can just be very beneficial to be interested in multiple crafts. So that's why I think it's a little weird when, and you guys are not gonna be able to see what I'm doing because I need to see what I'm doing. Actually, it'd be super good if I had an extra set of hands to hold this up. Indulging in multiple crafts is not a bad thing. It can be a good thing because it can help. Oh man, these stitches are gonna be bad. It can help drive inspiration. It can help with art block, just, you know, taking some time away and working in a different medium for a while. It can give you some, like, for example, this year's Lilliputian Living was about fashion, and I started it off with how Lilliputian clothes are produced. A friend of mine got really into fiber arts, and it just kind of inspired me. So my own experience cosplaying, my own interest in historical fashion, although I will not be sewing any of that myself probably, my own interest in how things are made, all of that fueled the art for this year's Lilliputian Living. So if you're somebody who struggles with art block and you don't have any hobbies outside of, oh man, these stitches are so janky. Fortunately, no one's gonna be all up on top of this thing. In fact, maybe I will go back and do another row of stitches. But if you don't have a life outside of your job / school and art, and I don't say this to be ugly, but like, don't be surprised if you fight with art block, because many of us get inspiration from the world around us and going and doing things and having experiences. And particularly if you're a writer or a comic artist writer, you shouldn't expect to never deal with art block and writer's block if you don't go out and do things. Like, it's understandable that you're gonna have difficulty coming up with ideas, because we get our inspiration from being humans, for the most part, humans outside in the world. So I don't understand why, unless it's like humble bragging or, I don't know, some weird humility or self-loathing, I don't understand why other artists who are into multiple things will act like that's such a bad thing, because your creativity fuels your creativity. I did a really bad job sewing, and I don't care, because finished is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect. Let's remove our ever helpful safety pin. Make sure that it's in there. Is it a little jank? It's a little jank. Can we live with a little jank? We're gonna live with a little jank. And then I'm gonna sew the other side. So we finished it. What do you guys think? My only real complaint is that some of the softer foam mushrooms might be a little bit delicate. And also, while I love the velvet ribbon, it wants to shred all over the place. It's hard to tie, it's hard to untie. So while I like it and it's a good thickness, it is just kind of delicate. So if you're making something like this and you're a sewer, or you like to sew and use a sewing machine, you might want to run it through a sewing machine just to like finish the edges so they don't, you know, fray beyond a certain point. Otherwise, I think it turned out pretty cute. I'm pretty happy about it, and I look forward to wearing it to some of the events that I have coming up this year.